Hi everyone, it's Chloe, and today I wanted to film an episode of Together. I usually film my Together series like with my camera propped up on my window, but I wanted to change the scenery a little today, and I wanted to come to the beach because it's so nice out today. So I thought I would film it here. The angle's a little weird. I didn't realize my dashboard was slanted, so it's kind of weird. Anyways, today's episode I wanted to make about insecurities. Insecurities is something I've touched on bit by bit in I think almost all of my Together videos, but I haven't made an entire video just dedicated to talking about insecurities. And I kind of want to talk about my observations regarding insecurities, especially in these middle school and high school years that I'm sure a lot of you guys as well as me are in right now, and some of the observations I've made about insecurities and how to handle them. And I kind of want to lay out all these observations in this video, as well as my personal struggle and how I've kind of dealt with it throughout high school. And I kind of want to, that's where I want this video to kind of go. I didn't plan anything out as I usually do in these videos. I really don't know where this is going to lead me at all, but I just want to open my heart to you guys and talk about my experience and hopefully help some of you guys out along the way. My comments still aren't working, but please can you DM me on my Instagram if you want to further this discussion, or you can feel free to comment on my Instagram, because that's I guess where we're going to be interacting now, since my YouTube comments suck still. Every single person I've ever talked to has their specific insecurities, whether they be broad, about how they feel they're not smart enough, their body isn't good enough, or specific, when I was younger I was really insecure about this little popped blood vessel on my face. I don't know which cheek it's on actually. It's one of these two. But there's a little popped blood vessel under my eye, which I was so insecure about. Or the gap between my teeth is a huge thing that not everyone has, but I was super insecure about. But basically the point is that I have struggled a fair amount with insecurities, but I also have realized that everyone else in this world has as well. Everybody else has struggled with insecurities. For a while, I kind of felt like I was the only one who had this issue, and I was the only one feeling bad about themselves and feeling bad about how they looked or how I acted, and I was the only person scrutinizing myself and feeling terrible. But then I kind of realized as I grew up and as I talked to more people and I had more conversations with friends and family that everybody is insecure and everybody has their specific things that make them feel badly about themselves and the specific things they doubt about themselves. Looking back on my early years and when I was very young, it's really sad that I thought I was the only person who felt that way. But once I realized that everyone else is dealing with the same thing, even people you think are so perfect, and honestly, once I figured that out and once that realization came to me, it just put the whole thing in perspective for me, and it made me feel honestly a lot better about myself and where I stood in regards to myself, and it took so much stress off of it. I realized I wasn't alone in the struggle I was facing. Everybody else feels that way about one thing or another. Obviously our insecurities aren't all the same, but they all come from the same place of not feeling like we're good enough and wanting to improve ourselves and comparing ourselves to other people and feeling bad about ourselves. No matter what it is, it all comes from that place. I would be looking at everyone and thinking everyone really had their shit together and everyone had their stuff together. And I felt like I did not at all, and I was just such a mess. So I think that's the first step in kind of overcoming your insecurities, or at least feeling better about them, is realizing everyone has them. It's easy to forget that right now because not only are we going to be looking at our friends and family and people we know at our school and in our lives, we're also exposed to the entire world of the internet, which consists of models and actresses and a ton more famous people and people who post curated pictures to Instagram or online, and that just opens a whole new world of insecurity for us, I think. And it's also, it adds a whole new blockade between us and the world around us, if that makes sense. Because if you're talking to your friends and you think they're so perfect and you think they kind of have it together, you can interact with them and talk to them and kind of realize you guys are on the same page and everyone deals with insecurities. But with social media, you can't just realize that these people, these models and actresses and just famous people online, you can't just kind of talk to them and realize that they're having their own struggles. Basically, what I'm trying to say, like, it looks like everything's perfect because all you see is their like 2 pictures a week that they post, or like all you see is like the pictures they choose to post from their lives and the pictures where they think they look good. And you don't actually see how they feel or how they act or what they're thinking or whatever. You don't see any of it. So I think that just adds a whole new level to it. But you have to remind yourself, even though you can't see it or understand it fully, these people also have their own insecurities that they're dealing with. And to me, honestly, that was the first step in realizing that it was going to be okay and that this wasn't such a big deal. We're all going through it and we all have things we're insecure about. So that helped me a lot to realize that everyone had their own insecurities. Another thing I want to talk about in regards to insecurities is acceptance. I'm so hard on myself in my life, and I feel like everything has to be perfect. If I'm not doing this, this, and that, then it's not going to get done, or I'm not going to be perfect, or I'm going to be upset. Like, I'm just so hard on myself in regards to everything. So when I'm looking at my insecurities, I'm always beating myself up. Looking at myself thinking, why can't I be more like this? Why can't I do this? If I just did this, I'd be like that. It's constant. It's always going through my head. Every time I look in the mirror, every time I'm doing anything, every time I'm taking a test, literally everything. I'm just so hard on myself, which I recognize is bad. For my insecurities, I'm still working on this, but I think it's so important accepting that you have your insecurities, and these are things that you're gonna have to learn to accept about yourself. I'm not saying like you can't like change them if you want, but before you can even change what you're insecure about, it's important to accept where you are right now. It's a huge lesson, I think, that applies to almost anything, but especially in regards to insecurities, it's so important to accept where you are now and to not only like love yourself despite your insecurities, but identify things you love about yourself that kind of like override your insecurities. That's a really bad way of putting it. I just have to give an example. Like, if you're just, let's say you're upset about your teeth, I would, instead of focusing your energy on how terrible your teeth look and how you hate your teeth so much, focus it on like your eyes. If you love your eyes, focus on how much you love the color of your eyes and how pretty your eyes are, and change your mindset. Change every time you're thinking about your teeth and how terrible they look. Start thinking about how much you love your eyes, because it's really not that bad. If you can think about the good in your life, you're going to be so much happier. So accepting where you are and where your insecurities are now. I waste so much of my energy dwelling over my insecurities and thinking about them and trying to somehow, I feel like the more I think about them, the more I'm fixing them, which is just not right at all. I just waste so much of my energy thinking about what I'm insecure about when I could be using that energy to do so much more important things with my time. Learning to love yourself despite your insecurities, accepting where you are, taking a step back and looking at yourself and thinking it's really, really not that bad. Thinking of what you love about yourself instead of what you hate about yourself and want to change. Just changing your mindset overall. Another thing I want to talk about is distraction. I find the times when I'm really thinking about my insecurities and terrible feelings like overcome me are the times when I'm just like not doing anything and I'm just sitting on my phone or I'm in my room, and the times when I really have nothing going on. I think it's important to find things you love to do. Not necessarily like, I think distraction's the wrong word because that like kind of shows that you're like trying to avoid it. But I think like the more you're doing what you love and the more you're doing stuff that fills you up, the less you're going to be worrying about your insecurities. If you find yourself that like even through everything going on in your life, you still have time to sit there at the end of the day and feel like insecure about yourself, I think it's honestly a good idea to find a new passion or a new hobby that you love to do that could honestly just bring security to your life. Finding a passion or something you love to do is a really, really powerful way to just like take ownership of yourself and to like connect to who you are and to not think about your insecurities as much. This could be anything from like painting or like drawing or volunteering or traveling or being with friends. Something that just fills your soul up and makes you feel so proud of yourself and so good about yourself, or just distracts your mind. It can literally be anything, like something leisurely, I think. For me, something I find that just fills my soul up, makes me literally just forget every stupid issue I have going on, is the place I volunteer. I volunteer at a therapeutic horsemanship place. It's a place where it connects horses to special needs children in a way like they help them ride the horses and groom them, and I volunteer there twice a week and I literally love it so much. It fills my soul up so much, and it takes my mind off of myself, and I think that's so important. We live in a world where everything is about ourselves, and I feel like it's a little like selfish and self-centered sometimes and can be super superficial. So I think finding something that takes you out of your head and out of your own bubble of yourself is so important, and it will really, really help you to overcome your insecurities, because really it's all about distracting yourself, focusing on others and not yourself. Something I remember that my mom said to me once was, I would always call myself fat to her every single day. I would just talk about how fat I was and how unhappy I was with my body. And one day she said to me, I forget the exact wording of it, but she said something like, why don't you take all the energy you spend calling yourself fat and putting into something that actually could be doing good for the world? Or she said something like that. I forget the exact wording, but it stuck with me, and I think it is so true that all that energy we spend tearing ourselves down, focusing on ourselves, we could be spending making change in the world, doing things for others, doing positive things for ourselves, doing positive things. Why are we spending so much time worried about ourselves, worried about our appearance? Another thing about the acceptance, on the note of acceptance, realizing that insecurity doesn't just go away overnight. It's not something you can rip out of yourselves. It's not something you can spend every night saying, okay, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm not gonna be insecure, I'm gonna be perfect. Because perfection does not exist. We're always gonna probably have elements of insecurity. It just depends if it's a lot or a little, but we're always gonna have that, I think, with us. And accepting that is really important to lowering it, because just thinking about when is this going to be done? Why am I so insecure? When am I ever going to be completely uninsecure? That's going to make you more insecure, I think. And just taking a chill pill, stepping back and realizing that it's all going to be good, and you don't have to pry it out of you overnight. It's a gradual process to lower your level of insecurity. Another thing I want to talk about is how you act when you're insecure. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, oh, she's just acting like that because she's insecure. I kind of want to talk about that because it kind of like sets the notion that there's only a certain designated amount of people who are insecure, and then everyone else is just completely secure and happy in themselves. But that's not true at all. I think everyone's insecure, but there's some people who act out based on their insecurity. And that's kind of what I think a big problem in our generation is. I think a lot of us act out in various ways because of our insecurities, but I think in order to stop doing that, we just have to recognize what we're doing and why we're doing it, and it's gonna stop. I think I kind of have gained a lot of awareness about what it looks like to act out based on insecurity, and I've really tried to limit it because it's kind of like a subconscious thing you do and you don't even realize it. So I kind of want to give examples of that and talk about how we can eliminate it from our lives. The first one is like bragging. Bragging is a big way we try to mask our insecurities, to try to make ourselves feel a little bigger, and to try to draw others to the positive aspects of ourselves, and to try to like guide them away from what we're upset or insecure about. We try to make ourselves look bigger and tougher than we are because we're trying to hide our insecurities deep down within us, and we're trying not to expose them to the world, and we're trying to make others see us in a way that we don't see ourselves. But it doesn't work, and it doesn't look cute. Sometimes like we subconsciously brag too, like we don't even realize we're doing it when we are. We're just trying to like mask this deep inner insecurity that we feel, and we're trying to like bring light and positivity to ourselves. But there's so many other ways that we can show others the good within ourselves without trying to brag. Being a good friend, being a kind person, doing the right thing. That's important, good ways that we can bring positive energy to ourselves rather than bragging, because we don't get anything out of bragging. It actually works in the opposite way that we think it's working. We think it's bringing others closer to us. We're thinking it's making others admire us more, respect us more, but it's really doing the opposite. So bragging because we're insecure is something that we need to definitely stop doing, because it actually has the opposite effect. Speaking badly of others is another big one. When we're insecure, it's definitely more common for us to look at the flaws of others and try to point them out, just because we don't feel comfortable in ourselves, and just because we're looking for other ways to like make ourselves feel better because of other people. Talking about other people is never the right way to approach our inner feelings. Like I said, there's a lot more healthy, important, and not as negative and disgusting ways of approaching our insecurity that don't involve talking about other people in a malicious and disgusting way. So talking badly about others is not a way to handle insecurity. Another one is social media and like trying to call like unhealthy attention to yourself. When you're insecure, I feel like you're trying to like get validation from others, so you might post like more like inappropriate pictures on Instagram, or like I've seen like I kind of like look. My camera just died, so I'm so sorry for this like whole change. But basically what I was saying was, I see it a lot on social media, like Instagram, Snapchat, Visco, whatever, TikTok, to try to like validate ourselves. We try to like post pictures of ourselves where we like are kind of like exploiting ourselves that like we wouldn't normally post, and like normally isn't who we are. We try to post more like promiscuous stuff or things that call more attention to us, maybe in like a more negative way, things that just aren't who we are. It's really upsetting that we feel like we have to validate ourselves on social media. I'm the last person who's judging what you're posting, by the way. Like, I'm not like, ooh, she just posted in a bikini. Like, I post bikini pictures too. It's just like, it's more about the place you're posting it from. Are you posting it from a place of like pureness and happiness and whatever? Or are you posting it from a place of wanting validation, or you know you don't feel fully comfortable posting this, but you want the approval of others? There's a difference between it. And it's not like I'm saying don't post bikini pictures. Ew, that's disgusting. I'm not trying to be condescending, because that's the last thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, like, you have to think about your motives for why you're posting what you're posting, and if it's from a real place or if it's from an insecure place. Those are the three big ones I can think of. But I think when you become more aware of it, and once you recognize when you do it, because I think I certainly do recognize when I feel insecure, and I do kind of notice like how I change how I act, and I kind of like try to like prove myself in some sort of way when I feel insecure, just to like kind of like block it down as far as I can and try to make myself feel as like high as I can, even though I feel like at my lowest. I think it's something everybody does, but when you become aware of it, which I have been for a little while, it really, really helps you to just realize, okay, I'm just feeling insecure right now. I don't need to do this, that, or the other to validate myself. I'm completely fine how I am. Another thing I realized about insecurities is you're your own biggest critic. Nobody else is looking at that huge pimple on your forehead all day like you are. Nobody else is thinking how ugly your outfit is and how you should change. And if they are, they're not good people. But really, 90% of the time, it's you making it kind of up in your head. It's you dwelling on what you're upset about yourself. And it's you not feeling good enough. And once you realize that it's kind of in your head, no one else is dwelling about the little tiny things about yourself that you aren't happy with, that will honestly relieve you so much. It will relieve your mind so much. Also in this video, I realized I was focused a lot on like physical insecurities because they're easy to like talk about. It's a lot harder to talk about like personality wise insecurities, but they certainly are there. And just because I didn't touch on them a lot in this video doesn't mean they're not important. I just realized I was mainly like talking about like appearance and like body and like clothing. But there's other types of insecurities too, so. Okay guys, that is everything for my insecurities video. I really hope it helped you. I always end these videos feeling like I didn't like have a final say, or like I didn't like finish my thought process, but like I don't really know what else to talk about. I hope this helped, and there might be a part 2 to this depending on if I edit this back and realize that there's more I didn't say. I will leave the link to my other together videos down below. I've made, I think, like 10 now, which I'm so excited about. I love the series so much. It's my favorite thing. And I really hope you guys love it too. Please DM me on my Instagram, and please leave a comment on my Instagram because I can't interact with you on my YouTube. Alright guys, that's everything for today's video, and I'll see you guys in my next video next Sunday. Bye!